Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Outer Realm Wednesday night segment. We're broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 from New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey since the very, very beginning. Thank you, Folgers. We appreciate you so very much. You are part of our Outer Realm family, and we love it. So thank you. Also, big thank you to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, a.k.a. Justin Snicker, for his contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro that you just heard. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. So thank you so very much, Justin. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. He also specializes in the horror genre and does great commission pieces. Tonight, we welcome for the very first, not the first time. Oh, terrible. Shame on me. The return of John Polk, who basically was on the first time talking about UFOs in Sedona. He's pretty much your go-to guy in Sedona for UFO and paranormal tours, as well as the Vortex, Medicine Wheel, and Shamanic Journey Tours. And tonight we're going to be discussing power spots and vortexes throughout Sedona. Sedona is one of these big mystery spots, and we've been learning so much about it with the guests that have been coming on. So we're trying to share all of that information with you guys because it's pretty fabulous. So in order to partake in the show tonight, guys, you know what all the chat rooms, Roku has no chat room. You know we have to go at the same pace as the guest. We will try to flag some of your comments and your questions and tackle them as we go along. So Bubbles is back in the house. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, and Bubbles boo-booed with Constance. Constance is tomorrow.
Constance is tomorrow.
Bubbles boo-booed big time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi,
Boo-booed big time. Like I'm changing everything up right now.
Oh no.
That's how boo-booed I did. Yeah.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. I don't know why I had them backwards, but
I can't.
Life has been difficult. Hello.
Hey man, life has been backwards. Don't even talk to me about it. I don't want to talk about how backwards
I know.
But you know,
I know.
It takes a little bit of catching up, and you know, this is always a nice time to just let it all go and, you know, hang out with some of our favorite people in chat room. Aw, message from Janie. We love you anyway.
Yes. Thank you. But I got to put that guest information up because that's just crazy.
Yeah, she just worked lately. Yeah, for sure it is.
Yeah. I'm just like, what the heck did I do? But yeah, her information's there for tomorrow, but I took it off. Oh my gosh. Seriously, I need a vacation and I need to get on a plane and not tell anyone till I get there.
Vacations are awesome. I mean, I don't know the last time I had one, but I'm always down for one.
It's just,
But you know what? I'm excited to talk about vortexes. I think Joe and I talked about this before, and it's so fascinating for me because you know that the ancient people always built around power spots and vortexes. You see these unbelievable temples and monoliths, all in these incredible places. And, you know, church came along after the fact. And as they, you know, as they merged belief systems together, they would also build churches here. So they would incorporate all of that. And a lot of times it's because there really were doorways there. There really were portals there. So do they still exist today? Man, I don't know. But there are a lot of places such as, again, stargates even. People say, oh no, power spots, stargates. And there are some all over the world. It's unbelievable. And let's talk about spirit portals, energy vortexes, places like, Stonehenge, the Gate of the Gods in Peru. I mean, these are all like pretty powerful places. And Sedona is really a big one. A lot of people really gravitate to Sedona. I think the one they have there is a Doorway of the Gods, if I'm not mistaken, that's what it's called, but it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully we'll just wait for him to get over here.
I love stuff like this. Like I really do feel the energy when I'm in a place with a lot of history.
Yeah.
Well, most of the places I've been to, a lot of history, but not like newer cities and urban,
Right.
but more, when you go to a city that's been around for a couple hundred years and it's just transformed very little in time, which is very difficult to find in North America.
For this side of the world, it's pretty impressive to find anything that old. I mean, I go to Europe, it's just like Egypt.
No,
like
it's
unbelievable.
Even even Italy, like that's Germany, all of Europe. But Boston, I've said this before, they have had to keep their homes and only were permitted to change the facade, like the front.
Some countries are like that.
That's
and
it,
they have
because of the history in Boston. But that was the what resonates from those stones, and and why I want to go to Pisa is not just to see something that my ancestors built, but to touch it.
Right.
That's what it is. For how many times have I said
energy and memory?
I want to, I want to feel it. And that great grandfather.
Where are you buried? Where are you buried?
Yeah,
I was looking for your ancestor. Where are you buried?
How many times have I looked for him?
I know. Well, our guest is here, so we are going to bring him on.
Absolutely.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. How are you?
Hey, Michelle. How are you?
Hi. Good. I know. Good. How is it going? Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Are you kidding? We've been looking forward to this one because it's one of those topics that I don't know. I've always been interested in it because I love ancient history, and it fascinates me how a lot of ancient people would always build temples and monoliths and anything substantial. Any of these big places like Stonehenge, for example, would always be in power spots. It was always a reason. And I'm hoping you're going to be able to enlighten us on the ones in Sedona anyway, because I know you're very up close and personal with them. So where would you like to start? Would you like to recap a bit from the first show as to, how you came to Sedona and how you are where you are today with everything that you do there? Oh, yes.
Hey, Michelle,
Reverend John, can you please pull your screen towards yourself just a little bit?
Oh, we're getting a flash of light. It looks like you got a vortex ready to beam.
Yeah, you've got like a lightning strike going through your face.
Let me turn this light off.
Okay, thank you.
And keeping with the vortex conversation. Awesome.
That's perfect.
Excellent.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, ladies.
It literally was going through your head.
Well, that's typical. That's par for the course, but yeah.
Thank you. Those things usually happen to me.
So do you want to recap on how you came to this incredible
My new music UFO Tours. I'm such a child at heart.
That's okay. You're in good company.
Oh man, how fun! So you were breaking up earlier, so please forgive me.
Oh, okay.
What were you saying?
Do you want to recap on what brought you to Sedona, what you do there? We talked about UFOs and the CE5 and all of that the first time you were on, and tonight's Vortex night. So maybe you can just recap and segue in.
Okay, so getting back to how I first landed in Sedona, my mother got remarried here about 9 years ago. She's the oldest of 9. An Italian Sicilian family, was to get remarried in Sedona. So she had vacationed here before and wanted to get remarried here to my stepdad. And so 8 out of the 9 made it. And I flew from Florida, where I lived most of my life. And my brother and I, we flew in, and then you get to Phoenix, and then you get the run. Phoenix is kind of drab and not that attractive, but then you get in the rental car and you drive north up 17 interstate, and then the mountains get prettier, the cactuses get prettier, the energy gets more intense, and then you finally get on to 179, which is the main road off of Interstate 17 into Sedona, and bam, about 10 minutes in, you see Bell Rock, and you see Cathedral, and you see Courthouse, you see all these monster, massive red rocks, which I'm sure all of us on this show and all the listeners are empaths to some degree, and you feel it. It's like a whoosh. You can feel it just overcome your body. Right. And, you know, and I'm driving in with my brother 9 years ago, and I'm like, wow, you know, I used to do entertainment by Disney and Universal 20 years. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I could live in a small town. I could live here and be happy. I could, and had no clue at the time I would even move here ever. And so a couple years removed, we're not staying in their house, was going through breast cancer. And then my uncle was living with my mom in Tallahassee, Florida. So my mom, my stepdad, and my uncle John came down to visit me in Orlando. And my uncle John said, you know, I know you're trying to sell your house. So if you sell your house, you can house sit for me. It's been sitting empty for 6 months. And I just want to take care of the house. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you may pay the power bill.
I'm in.
For utility, those stuff to do. So just do it, and you can stay there for free. And so I did. So I sold my house, and this is such a crazy story. I sell my house, and a month later, on September 11th, I'll never forget, because it was a September 11th of 2017, Hurricane Irma wrecked the house. It destroyed it. At least $50,000 damage. And but I sold the house. It wasn't my house anymore. I cashed out, and I broke up with my girlfriend after 7.5 years. I quit my very lucrative entertainment career after 2 years, and I sold everything I could sell, and I gave away the rest. And I literally drove across the country only with what I could fit in my truck. And that's how I landed in Sedona, August 17th. Of 2017. It's been rather incredible. What a blessing.
That's a total cleansing of everything when you let go of everything material.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I had a big house full of furniture, you know, expensive things. And I'm just like, you know, it's not my life anymore. You know, I'm done.
I think you have to purge it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect word. It was a cathartic kind of experience, releasing, and it was difficult.
Yeah. Oh, you're cutting out a whole lot.
You know, I give that to the gods, and it's like, thank you, because they brought me here. That's the way I will always believe it to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you just purge everything, and you it's almost like you're coming in bearing your soul. And Sedona is a place that sort of commands that in a way, you know. Oh, you're freezing a lot.
I know.
Maybe drop out.
I'm sorry, the internet connection here, so I'm not sure what's going on. But so then I ended up moving back to Florida and moved in with a girlfriend, which I never did before. And then that did not work out. And so I moved back to Sedona on total accident. I had another girlfriend lined up in Southern California, and I was literally driving across the country to be with her and her 2 kids. I was going to be a stepdad, and I was very excited about it. And she broke up with me when I was staying in some dive hotel in Amarillo, Texas, by text.
On the way there?
on the way there.
Shame on you if you're watching. Shame on you.
Tell them, Bubbles.
But it was
nasty. That's nasty.
It was, because I would have stayed in Florida, because I got right back into my entertainment career again. I was making really good money. But that being said, I had told one of my good friends, Suzanne Ross, who I've been doing UFO tours for her conferences for like 6 years now. I promised her that I would MC her event when she was doing activations on the Red Rocks.
Right.
So I'm in Texas. And I'm like, I can always go back to Florida. I could probably get all my old gigs back, but I can't let my friend down. I promised her. And I had a place to stay at least for that week. So I go to Sedona, and I'm heartbroken to affect the conference. I emceed her conference while she was doing her activations at Bell Rock. And then the folks I was staying with, they're like, John, that room is for rent. You weren't meant to be with her. She's 20 years younger than you. This was what brought you back to. And that's how I landed here for really the third time. So, and I've been here ever since. I get a job with one of the biggest UFO sighting tour companies in the entire world. And within 4 months, I became the lead tour guide for the whole company. And it was I had to pinch myself all the time. I'm like, is this really happening? Why am I so blessed and privileged to be able to be in this situation? And so, I try to be as respectful as possible, given everything that has just come to me. So
it's very humbling, isn't it?
Oh, it can bring me to tears because it's been just so storybook. It's really unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very difficult to be around that sort of energy and the age, and you can almost feel, like so much wisdom. Like these areas hold so much of that energy going back into ancient times, and it's just incredible to be able to be a part of that, because you really do. At the end, we're made up of energy. You really do become a part of it, and it's a very humbling experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm going to just go on a limb. Why not? Right? I'm on your show. It's the Outer Realm. So, I really think that in a past life, I was related to Sedona somehow. I'm not exactly sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at one point I thought maybe I was her husband, TC, which stands for Theodore Carlton. But then I'm like, no, that's not it. She had a child that died at 5.5 years old named Pearl. I thought a lot of men that believe in reincarnation never think that they could go along the line of reincarnation. Well, guess what? You're everything eventually. So I thought maybe I was her. And then I'm like, no, that's not it. But then they went on to have 6 kids. And I think I was one of those children, but I don't know. But in the end,
we feel drawn there to places for a reason, right? When you have such a strong draw or like attraction to someplace, there's usually something to that. You don't just wake up one day and say, yes, this is the place I need to be. So, I mean, well, maybe for some people, but some people feel that intense draw, and you just feel like you have to be there. There's no other place that you even want to be, that you belong. You don't belong anywhere else. You walk around trying to figure out why you have a void in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And also, I've been blessed to have waltzed into all the right situations and meeting all the right people. So when I first moved here, I did entertainment for 20 years. So I had a full sound system and computers through my sound system. And I had cordless mics and big speakers and everything that you needed to do a conference. So all of a sudden I'm MC of all these UFO conferences in Sedona, especially during the spring, like right around now. And I'm the UFO guy for almost every single one of them. So it's like, wow, what more of a blessing could I ask for? And the best part is that I don't have to spend any money on anything. I don't have to pay for any advertising. They do it for me. Well,
it's like it's taking care of you too.
Yes. I call her Mama Sedona. I pray to her absolutely every day. And and I talk about this on my day tours. I'm going to plug one of my good friends and business colleagues, Scenic Sedona Tours. But I talk about this all my day tours. where I pray to her every day, because a lot of people will come here and they'll go bankrupt. They will go bankrupt. And it's not a mystery to the locals. We know this happens because we see it happen. And there's certain properties, and I'll point it out, there's a curse on that property. There's a curse on that property. And I always say, I can't prove the curses, but I can prove to you the companies that have come in, multi-million-dollar conglomerates that come in and they don't even think about it. They're like, oh, we got millions of dollars. We can do whatever we want. Right. And in the end, they end up on bust, happens, or money gets tied up in the banks or the courts, or just some weird stuff happens all the time. And so back in 1862, through the Homestead Act, the government was giving away the Native Americans' land. And supposedly the shamans were bringing in the Wendangos, which are these fourth dimensional shapeshifters that are here to protect the land, and that they were putting curses on the land to do their secret and sacred rituals and ceremonies. And, and I always say, I can't prove curse or any of that, but I can prove the fact that all these companies have come in here and tried to break dirt on these properties and have bellied up and busted and gone away. And the locals know that.
Right. Oh, I think that they do. You have a lot of oral history, and that's stuff that gets passed down generation after generation. And they're very in tune with the land. And I think with that being said, if they say something's there, it's there. I truly believe that. So you do, a lot of tours. I'm just going to put this up just so we can. This is just, advertising. I want to put up your new banner. Oh, so bear with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get it up there, man. I want to get it up there. There we go.
You're good.
All right, there we go.
Nice.
There is a typo in it, but yes, that's it. And so I wanted it to pop. I wanted it to pop, and I did one last year, and it was good. But the guy that produces the magazine, he said, "What I put the magazine ad off at a distance to see if I could tell what it is," and he said I couldn't tell what it was. And he said, this time I want to be able to put it off at a distance and not even be able to read the words, but be able to tell what it's about. And I'm like, that was brilliant. I totally agree with him. And I said, it's all about the UFO. It's all UFO. And we went back and forth, and they finally found the right clip art or whatever that is. And I'm like, that's perfect.
That's the one. That's the one right there.
That's
I love it.
It pops.
It's very colorful.
Yeah, man. I love it. It pops. There's no mystery what it is.
Exactly.
And then if you actually read the tour guide, I do Vortex tours, ghost tours, medicine wheel tours, and stargazing as well. So yes. Thank
so for those of you listening, it's johnpolktours.com. And you do UFO tours. I'll say it again. And using military grade goggles. See, that's a big thing. I think you definitely get a lot more action with like proper goggles like that. Vortex tours, ghost tours, medicine wheel tours, stargazing tours. I love it. Perfect.
Yeah. And so the goggles, I'll show you them right now. So this is them. They're called PVS-7 Generation 3 Military Night Vision goggles.
Those are nice.
Yeah, they're $4,000 a piece, and I have 11 of them.
Wow.
And they're 50,000 times what your eyes can see.
Wow.
50,000 times. So we've all seen a starry night. Now multiply that by 50,000 times. So you look up and you see millions and millions of stars. Yeah. And I have apps on my phone to show me where Starlink is and to show me where satellites are. And I show it to everybody. You have to apply science to what I do.
Right.
And I make mistakes. I'm not going to say everything years ago, everything was a UFO. Trust me. And I learned online after getting bashed, wow.
It's trial and error.
I was not very thorough in my research.
Right.
So you live, you learn. Yeah. You don't change the behavior, and then you just keep making the same mistakes. So I learned the hard way, and that was fine with me. But I built a reputation for being honest also, because I've posted some stuff in the past that I thought was UFO.
You don't get theatrics that way, which is very important. Firebolt has a question, Bubbles, if you can. Well, it just says, I have a crazy question.
Oh. Okay,
no
throw it out there.
Yeah,
there's never a crazy question on this show.
I think I might as well just say it and throw the word crazy, and then we've got it read. So, okay, what's the crazy question? Put it up. You're teasing us now. So why don't we get started then on the portals, the vortexes, these power spots, because there's so many. You did send a few pictures to share with us tonight, and there really are some incredible places. Like, where do you want to start with all of this?
Let's start at Bradshaw Ranch. So I was trying to send you some videos, but the files were too big. So I literally did them off my big screen onto my phone and made them less than 10 seconds. And that's
we've got the two.
Okay, so anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to play one of those then?
Yeah, if you want to, sure.
Or you could talk about it first, then we can put one up.
Okay, so what a vortex is, and this is important, and there's a lot to it, but I'll try and simplify it as much as possible. So the word vortex means something is spinning, and the spin creates force and rotational inertia, and it creates energy, like a tornado or a hurricane or even a whirlpool in water. And we create electricity by rotating magnetic fields. That's how we create electricity. And so what is happening here is the vortexes are spinning, and it creates this electrical field all around us, right? And so it wasn't until the mid-'80s when a lady named Paige Bryant coined the term vortex in relation to the geographical anomalies that occur around the world. And then 2,500 years ago, Plato, the Greek philosopher, he authored 2 books, the Timaeus and the Critias. And he wrote about Atlantis, but he also theorized that the globe was broken up into what he called 64 platonic solids. And it's the earth, and they're called ley lines. So instead of L-A-Y, they're L-E-Y, and they're all around the world. Sedona's not special as far as that. It's all over the globe. And then instead of it being, it comes in the shape of triangles, and the triangles come in different shapes. So they're either pyramid-shaped triangles, right-angle triangles, isosceles triangles, obtuse triangles, Pythagorean triangles, etc. And then the earth normally and naturally charges just from the earth being the earth that it is. So they're either electrically charged or magnetically charged. But where the electric and magnetic lines cross, you have electromagnetic energy. And we are impulses. And then the water in our body and the iron in our blood is magnetic. So you take an electromagnetic being like a human or even an animal to an electromagnetic vortex, and you're going to have a physiological effect whether you realize it or not. And it's healthy to the human body. So it enables you to process oxygen more efficiently and effectively and release carbon dioxide more efficiently and effectively. So while you're here in Sedona, we have the highest concentration of these electromagnetic vortexes in the world. We have 7 major ones in 20 square miles. But the more that your body processes oxygen more efficiently, you get more oxygen to your brain and more blood to your brain, which leads to the creation of what you call BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotropic factor. And BDNF is the building blocks for synapses and the creation of synapses in the human brain. So when people come here and I talk about this, your brain is literally rewiring itself and you don't even know it, or maybe you do. But your brain, when you're in Sedona and other very hot vortations around the world, your brain is going to create more synapses than it would in other locations, right? And it's healthy to the human.
Oh, it's really
and then a story goes, and this was on one of my tours, he said that she had come here, and prior to coming here, she went to her doctor, and her doctor said, that your T cells or your white blood cells, the ones that ward off infection and boost immune system, are curiously low. So you need to be aware of that. And so she came here. She went on some tours with some Navajos and learned how to tap into the vortex energy. And there's a consciousness, and it's very real and it's very much alive. And she tapped into all that. And then when she went back home about a week later, she goes back to her doctor, and her doctor said, "You're a medical miracle. I cannot explain what happened to you. Your white blood cells are exactly where they need to be. I've never seen anybody just simply go somewhere and then their white blood cells have increased to the health that they're supposed to be." And so that's what can potentially happen here. So people will come here from all over the country and around the world on their spiritual pilgrimage, and also for some kind of healing. And they're looking for practitioners like myself and others. And this town is loaded with them, and also loaded with a bunch of charlatans too, unfortunately. But I would say about half of us are very genuine, authentic, and can demonstrate and prove our work. And the other half are just full of baloney, unfortunately.
Right. Every industry has one. I mean, tourism is difficult, especially when you're dealing in areas of high strangeness, because let's face it, you can get away with saying pretty much anything. And if somebody doesn't do their research at least a little bit before going on, one of these tours, and you have to have an idea what's going on, then you really don't know, and a lot of people get taken.
Right on. And so right in. So this is one of the most powerful vortexes on the planet. And it's what you call a male and female vortex. So the male energy comes down. It's more grounding. Yeah, the male energy comes down clockwise. It's more grounding. Okay. And believe it or not, I have a hard time believing this, that the female energy is actually a higher vibration frequency than the male energy. And it comes up from Mother Gaia counterclockwise. And it's more soul expansion, pineal gland activation, and creativity.
There we go.
Beautiful.
And so in the case, so that's Bell Rock, and it's a male and female vortex also. So it is not unusual to see spaceship flying around that on a regular basis, especially at night.
Is it called Bell Rock because of the shape?
Yes. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Bell Rock. It is beautiful.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
We need to go there.
Because it lets you know a couple things. The reason it's completely red is that the red rock is named the Schnebly layer, named after Sedona Arabella Miller Schnebly. And it's made out of sandstone, and the red comes from iron oxide or rust. So how can a rock possibly rust? And then the tops of the taller mountains, like the one in the background to the right, it's like an off-white or off-yellow color. It's called the Coconino layer. It's called the Coconino layer. So half of Sedona is in Yavapai County, half's in Coconino County. Both are named after Native American Indian tribes, but that's made out of limestone. But where the two layers come together, that's where Noah's floodwater stopped. So, like Noah and Bible, it's geologically provable that even Antarctica, all 7 continents, have some evidence through their strata or the lines of erosion of some kind of flood.
Well, they do this every 12. The planet does this every 12,000 years, doesn't it?
Yeah. The Earth is going to cycle. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. It happens about every 12,500 years. But it lets you know that this was completely underwater during the flood, and that it's less than 5,500 in elevation. Because on average, Sedona is 40 feet in elevation. Once you get up to about 5,500 feet in elevation, that's where the red rocks stop and the white rocks begin. So my former boss, let's call her Michelle, she survived cancer 7 times. And she'll tell you it's because of tapping into the vortex energy. And so when I first started working for her, she paid on Navajos. She's like, they know me. They're not going to help me, but they don't know who you are. So I'm going to, which I thought was brilliant, I'm going to pay for you to go on these tours. And I want you to specifically learn how to tap into the vortex and tap into the Native American medicine wheel and tap into the land and the consciousness here and breathe in Great Spirit You know, I want you can impart that knowledge to me. And I did, and I taught her also. And like I said, she came. She was cancer free within a year, and she'll tell you it's because of learning how to tap into the vortex energy. And it sounds like a bunch of hooey, but there's definitely something to it. I'll go to my grave talking about it.
Oh, come on. Let's face it. I mean, like I said, ancient people built their temples and monoliths on these type of places for a reason.
They also lived longer than us.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, think about it. You know, there's a reason. And there's a reason that when the church came in and blended in with, you know, these different cultures that they pretty much amalgamated or, you know, took over, they brought things together. They built their churches on these power spots. There's definitely something to it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done it. It wouldn't have been a big deal. It is a big deal. And some of these places are hidden from us even today.
So there's what you call the Michael line in England. And it goes from like, the eastern part, not perfectly east-west trajectory, but whatever. It's like east, northeast to west, southwest. But there's goes back to antiquity, all these incredible castles and churches and places of worship are all on these lines, and it's all over the world. And so last time I was on your show, I talked about how there was a line that went around the world, including
I hope this is recording.
Persepolis in the Middle East, and it just keeps going. I forget the other ones, but it's just on a line. And these ley lines around the world are power spots. And then there's the nodal points where the electric and magnetic lines cross, and that's where they build these structures. So it's like, how did they know that those were the nodal points? Did they have some kind of instrumentation to be able to find it? So there's what you call a Gauss meter. So a German back in the 50s created the Gauss meter to find where these electromagnetic vortexes were, and he mapped it. He traveled the world and he mapped it, right? And then there's also an instrument called a tri-field magnetometer, which measures electric energy, magnetic energy, electromagnetic energy. That's 3 different things. And then microwaves. All right. And they were able to map it that way also. So it was a couple years ago, and I had this scientist call me, and I didn't know who he was, but he said, it's just me and my grandson. I'm like, well, I don't charge for kids, but I need at least one more person. He said, well, as a scientist, I have a tri-field magnetometer, and I think the vortex thing is a bunch of baloney, but I want to see for myself as a scientist if it's real or not. And I'm like, you know what? Deal. So we go out to a place here in Sedona called the Buddha Stupa, Amitabha Buddha Stupa and Peace Park. And it's a major vortex. And so he has this chart and this graph, and I didn't understand exactly what it was. But so we get the tri-field magnetometer out. We walk up to the stupa. It starts to peak. We walk away. It stops. Then we walk up to the statue of Buddha, and there's a vortex tree next to it. I call it a vortex tree because it twists as it grows, specifically the universe. We walk up to that tree. It starts to peak out, and then we walk away, and it stops. And then we walk to another place where there's another vortex tree, and it peaked again, and then it stopped, and we walked away. So he said, you know what? As a scientist, I thought for sure I was going to debunk you, but in effect, I'm going to vet you because scientifically, as a scientist, this is real. And I'm like, well, good. I knew I was right, but I wanted to make sure, you know, because I didn't want to be selling snake oil out there to tourists. And
yeah,
yeah,
you have your integrity.
I do. You know, if I knew I was wrong, I would have my tour forever and said I was wrong. But no, he proved it to be true through scientific methods and instrumentation. So that made me feel great, and he totally vetted me. Awesome.
There's a lot more to it, I think, that people realize. Like, that's a lot of research that you put into this. You know.
Oh, absolutely. I study this stuff all the time.
Right.
And then, there's you know, the grid lines around the world. It's amazing what lies on these grid lines. For example, the Trilithon in Baalbek, Lebanon, Temple Mount in Jerusalem, and Mount Sinai, they're all on the same grid line. And one of the stones.
I agree.
But one of the stones in the Trilithon is 2.5 million pounds. And it's like, where did you quarry it from? How did you cut it? How did you move it? And how did you lift and place it perfectly mathematically where it is? It's just
that's a big question. I'd be interested in your idea of that.
So auditive levitation, if you can match the sound frequency of matter, and it's done through sound somewhere, and I don't exactly know how to explain it, but I know you can call it auditive levitation or even acoustic levitation.
Right.
You know, you can lift objects. You can somehow negate their physical mass goes, as far as weight goes, and lift these objects. And like, so very often you'll hear depictions, even in the Bible, of them hitting a bell and moving the stones into place. And Merlin the magician was doing something like that to build Stonehenge also, where he's using acoustics and sound. And people don't even realize, like, light with sound. And back in the 50s, they were conducting these experiments with sound waves, where they would make mice have sex with each other. And then next thing you know, they change the frequency and make the same mice kill each other. It's
That's
like,
mean.
Wow. Well, I'm not saying it's something that I would do.
That's insane.
How does that work on an X? No, I'm kidding.
Right? Oh my God.
Well, that's another show entirely.
I had to go there. I'm comic relief.
I'll talk to you on record about that. No.
I know, that's crazy. That's crazy. I just need to address a quick firebolt. Please email me. I'm going to put the address of the show up again, because it is off topic here, but I do have the contact information. So please just email me at theouterrealmcontact@gmail.com. I believe you can find it on the YouTube page. Do that,
group page.
Or go to our group page on Facebook, and we will most certainly put you in contact. All right, please and thank you. There we go. So I guess, yes, we are talking Vortexes and Power Spot in Sedona. We are. So you were going to get on to the where we have these videos. So do you want me to play one of these videos and out of we can play them both, and you can just tell us what's going on?
Yeah.
Does that sound good? Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, this is our show and tell, people. Oh, all right, here we go. We're gonna put it up.
Footage. Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can get this thing started. Here we go.
Cool.
So you'll see something bounce off of it. There it is. So I've had, skeptics say, "Oh, it's lens flare from a camera." Well, number one, no, that's not correct, because we saw this. I had witnesses with me, and that is the male-female vortex at Bradshaw Ranch. And if you get too close to that thing, you can get shot, or you'll never be found. You'll be taken underground. Yes, you'll be taken underground for what they call processing.
What?
Yeah.
Gosh, tell us about that while I cue the other video. That's crazy. I need to know more about this.
They can't do that if you remote view it, though, right?
Well, they have remote viewers looking for remote viewers.
Oh, I know. I've heard of that.
Like Ingo Swann. Ingo Swann went to the moon and saw some extraterrestrials, and they told him, "Don't ever come back." So watch this. This is so cool. Watch this go.
Yeah, that's not a flare.
That's pretty cool. Let me play it again.
Next to it. If you could start that over.
I will. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Anyway, but this was the same night as the other footage that we just showed. boom, boom, boom. There we go. Bam. And so that, whatever that was, in my mind, it was a UFO next to the Stargate. And whatever they were bouncing back and forth, I'm not exactly sure how to interpret that. So my best guess, it was some kind of or technology exchange. I can't exactly be sure, but it was the same night as the footage you just showed before that video. So I'm there. I have two ladies on tour, and we're seeing this thing, and it's morphing. It's changing colors and changing shape, and then these lasers or whatever that was bouncing off of it. But it wasn't a laser, because a laser would have been a straight line, right? So whatever this was, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was not lens flare, because me and these two ladies saw it. We watched and recorded it also.
What typically happens, like at this vortex and other vortexes around Sedona? I guess like any other places in the world, but let's concentrate on Sedona. Can people walk through these things? Do people disappear in these places? I mean, you do have high levels of UFO activity, without a doubt, because you guys are just crazy with UFO activity over there and paranormal activity. So what's a typical experience, even for some of your guests who come on your tours with you? What's typical over there?
So the History Channel, December 8th of 2022, came to Sedona, and they had just finished a docu-series at Skinwalker Ranch in northeastern Utah after a number of seasons. I think it was at least 3 seasons. I don't exactly remember. But the same team of scientists, headed up by former CIA operative Andy Bustamante, okay, they came here, the first place after Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, to see if we had the same kind of geographical anomalies that they had at Skinwalker Ranch, right? And there was this team of scientists, and one of the things they found was an elaborate tunnel system that went underneath that Stargate at Bradshaw Ranch. It went underneath it, right? We're able to find it through ground penetrating radar. And then underneath it was a patch of uranium. And we all know what you can do with uranium if you enrich it, right? And then this was the total kicker, is that they found a 1.6 gigahertz signal coming out of that, not through it, but out of it, down towards the ground, towards the patch of uranium, which was underneath, or I'm sorry, above the tunnel system underneath it. And that 1.6 gigahertz signal is exclusively reserved for the military, for interstellar communication. So it's like, what in the heck are they doing? And then, so it's called Beyond Skinwalker, Season 1, Episode 1, and Season 1, Episode 5 is Part 2. And they actually went out to the Bradshaw Ranch and interviewed John Bradshaw, the son of Bob Bradshaw, who used to be a stunt double for James Dean back in the day. And then his son Mason, that runs a bunch of the Jeep tour companies here in town. And they were talking about one thing that Bob, back in the day, him and his wife Linda, they're looking out their window at the ranch, and they were just cattle ranchers. They had no idea they bought a vortex that was a portal to other dimensions or whatever it is. And then see, like, it was almost like a drive-in movie screen in the sky. And that's the way they describe it. That they both clearly saw it. Yeah. And then there's an author researcher here in just outside of Sedona named Tom Dongo. And Tom Dongo and Linda Bradshaw, for 4 years, back in like 95 or 96, or in that time period, pardon me, stayed outside overnight for 4 years with motion detector cameras and video to capture whatever they could capture. And so when I first moved here in 2017, Tom Dongo had been in hiding for 10 years. Like, he had threats based on what he was releasing and pushing out there through social media and other channels, right? And so I'm emceeing this conference through Suzanne Ross, December of 2017, and Tom he's like, you know what, heck with it, I don't care anymore. I'm gonna, I'm getting old. I'm gonna just push this because it's my duty to share this with the world. And so he did. And so he came up and coined the term orbs back in the 80s. So him and Linda would capture UFOs, ghost-like anomalies, weird audio kind of things, Dogman, ETs, and other anomalous stuff they could, including orbs. And it is provable that orbs can communicate with other orbs through binary code. So it's like, what is going on with this? I mean, that to me sounds like some kind of technology. Yeah, energy. Yeah. And so if you ever saw the movie Thor, he was like, you know, in my world, science and spirituality are the same thing. And I was like, ooh, I absolutely love that. You know,
I love Chris Hemsworth.
You know, I think we can all agree that, you know, sacred geometry. It's math, it's geometry, it's physics, it's science, but there's spirituality to it also. And
Right.
And Tom Dongo with Linda, and it's fascinating, and it goes into all kinds of detail, you know, about the Bradshaw Ranch, and so watching Beyond Skinwalker, season 1, episode 1, season 1, episode 5 is part 2, and then Merging Dimensions with Dongo. If you want to do some research, and I certainly encourage that you do so, that's the best way to do it, is to watch those shows and read the book. So
there's a belief that there is a doorway at the top of the Red Mountains. It's reputedly to be this large archway. And a lot of people have witnessed a blue light that comes from it, and they hear different sounds like muted bells or thunder, even during the day. Like things that just don't make any sense. Like there'd be no reason for it. Thunder to me, I kind of put that off because like it's thunder, right? But bells and such, I mean, I hear bells just, you know, more psychically than anything, I think. But that's kind of unusual. Is there such a place, or is just a folklore legend?
So you know, there's definitely something to it. So here in Sedona, this town's totally haunted, and a lot of people don't realize it. So I recently had a girlfriend who was living with me, and I told her, you know, the house is haunted, and she was into it, but we would hear all kinds of curious stuff banging in the middle of the night, you know, and we would talk to it. We would literally go,
I wonder if it's going on the other side, though.
I try and go to sleep, you know.
Right.
And, I've had other friends. I have friends come down and stay with me all the time. I've had friends go, who was on the roof last night? There was somebody on your roof last night. I swear I heard it. And I'm like, yeah, I heard it too. And I you know, I told you this would happen.
Freaking aliens.
But, you know, I don't know what I don't know what it was. So, I mean, I'm not going to make something up now.
I know exactly.
Something weird's going to happen tonight. Just go with it. And you have to know that you're loved and you're protected for that.
No, but I love that. Here, we have a question for you here.
Yes, a lady Spider Witch. Hello. Thank you for giving us this question. Thank you for participating. She asked 2 questions. How do you know if it's a male, female vortex, and who exactly takes you underground?
Okay, so let's address the first question. So the male vortex energy is different than the female vortex energy. For example, if you go to Cathedral, which is our most hiked and visited trailhead / vortex in Sedona, the male energy comes down clockwise and it's more grounding. So when you're out there, your body's going to kind of feel heavy. You're going to be tired, you know, like even if you're in really good shape, you're going to feel extra tired. Right. And then, so another example is Rachel's Knoll, which is a female vortex. And then that once again comes up from Mother Gaia or Mother Earth counterclockwise. And it's more pineal gland activation, creation, and soul expansion, right? And so when you leave there, you feel more elevated and elated. Yes, I'm so glad you put this photo. So on the left, that's the 3 Hindu pillars, and then to the right of it is Ganesh, it
looks like 2
elephant
legs.
god in the Hindu epic.
Interesting.
Yeah, and if you look at the bottom, these bases almost look like they were made for these 2 structures. And what I believe is that perhaps 1 million years ago or whatever, that Ganesh looked just like an elephant, that it has eroded over time. Were those man-made? Nah, that's debatable, because you can go throughout Sedona and find stuff like that really everywhere. And it's the term we call pareidolia, where objects, for example, something in the clouds, but now in Sedona, something in the pareidolia.
Red rock. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, pareidolia. It's king here, and I pointed out the whole time I do my day tours, because there's also, you've interviewed Deborah Thunderbeat, who's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, she's been on our show a few times.
She's lots of fun.
She's brilliant, and I love her concepts. So she came up with Egypt and Sedona years ago, and she published this book, and it's glossy, and it's just vibrant colors. It pops, and she'll show you where Isis is, Osiris, Horus, Set, Demeter, all of the Egyptian gods. She just show them to you in the mountains. And so one of them might be like 1,000 foot tall, and some of it's a stretch, but whatever. If you just give up the willing suspension of disbelief, right, you can see these things. And she
shared them with us on the show.
And if you think about the fact that the Grand Canyon has this discovery in a cave of what looks like to be Egyptian hieroglyphs and carvings and all sorts of things that is all of a sudden off limits, I don't think it's inconceivable. I mean, obviously somebody made it here, whether it's ET or whether the ancient Egyptians did or ancient Atlanteans. I believe they most certainly all made it over here. Why not? Sky's the limit. You have that kind of technology, you're not going to be limiting yourself to one side of the world.
Do you know the story behind the Kincaid Caves in the Grand Canyon?
No, please.
I don't.
Sure.
Let me tell you this. It's a brilliant story. Okay, so it's 1909, and there's an explorer from the Smithsonian named G.E. Kincaid, and he was tasked with going to the Grand Canyon and exploring it, which is 200, and on average, it's a mile-deep fissure, which has been cut by the Colorado River for potentially millions of years. So he's going down the Colorado River, and he happens upon 1,444 man-made steps carved into the inside rock wall of the canyon wall. And it looked like, to him, like it was deliberately covered with foliage. So him and his team, they get up the steps and they remove the foliage. And of course, they got to scale these steps. So they get to the top of the steps and they find this system of man-made caves that went back thousands of feet. And one of the first things that they discovered was evidence of smelting. They found copper tools and copper weapons inside the cave. So now, of course, you got to dig deeper. So they go deeper into the caves and they find a life-size statue of Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, the Amitabha Buddha of infinite light, carved out of marble, right? So if you talk to people that carve marble or do marble for a living, they'll tell you that that's impossible because especially like hands, fingers, facial features, that is incredibly difficult to do. And you have to do it with lasers, which they did not have in 1909. So one of my buddies came here and he's done marble his whole adult life and was like, that is not possible unless it was aliens or something, right? And even the smelting, I mean, yeah, they were doing smelting in 1909, but it's like, where's evidence of the smelter? They didn't find a smelter up there either. But then they go deeper into the caves and then they find tablets with what appeared to be hieroglyphics. They didn't know what it was. They just knew they couldn't read it. So they thought that potentially it was Egyptian. And they go deeper into the caves and then they find brass and bronze statues depicting gods that we would deem as mythological, like Greek or Roman gods. And then they go deeper into the caves and then they find Egyptian style mummies. So this changes human history forever, right?
Right.
So then So then G. Kincaid, he goes to the Arizona Gazette in Phoenix, which is the newspaper, and they publish the story twice in 2 months. And then he telegraphs the Smithsonian as to what he found, and he was never seen or heard from again.
Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. And so now his family's like, okay, if he's dead, where's his body? Because we'd like to have a proper funeral.
Right.
Well, they never could produce the body. So now they send out an archaeologist named Jordan with a team, right, to go and retrieve those items from the caves, the Kincaid Caves in the Grand Canyon, and then supposedly get them on a train and then take them across the country to the Smithsonian Gate, where they'll never see the light of day ever again.
Exactly. They're notorious.
Guess what happened to Jordan? He was never seen or heard from again either. Same case scenario with his family. Where is he? If he's dead, both these guys are dead. There's no evidence of their body. Something stinks here, right? So is it true or is it not? It's debatable. But a couple things. There are steel doors on those caves, right? Why would you put steel doors on the caves? What do you have to hide? And
they don't want anybody in there.
You can't go to that part of the Grand Canyon anyway. It's blocked off to the public. You have to have a very specialized government permit to even go there.
Airspace as well.
You do go there. I'm sorry.
Does that include airspace?
Good question. I don't know, but what I do know, you cannot.
Because if you can take a helicopter over it, you can bungee, drop from
bungee down. Yeah.
Well, it's something I would do. I'm very Mission Impossible that way. But I mean, you could, what I mean? Drop down on a ladder, but steel doors.
You still can't get in. Yeah.
You still can't get in. But there has to be another way. It can't just be that one door.
Government passage or permits or whatever. You can't fly lower than the top of the Grand Canyon. You can't fly into the canyon.
You have to hike down.
You can fly high enough that you can drop into it.
Yeah, of course you could. But is it
you're saying that
I don't know.
Is going into SEAL Team 6 training. Wow. That's just, it's too, I'm too much of a curious cat.
No, I love it.
Half of the
I
question.
love it. And I don't have answers for everything. But the other half of her question, who takes you underground? So, I do my day tours, and a couple years ago, a number of years ago, back when I was getting that footage of Branch that you showed earlier, Michelle, there was this spot not far from there where we'd always see these strange lights. And after those lights never appeared again, there was a military base there, and it's the only Turanian or on or above ground base that we have. And so I'm doing a day tour. This thing popped up overnight, and so I'm like, I'm driving off the tour with my tour because out of my own curiosity, and I happen to have this guy on board who was former military, had some Army binoculars. And so we get, maybe a number of miles. I'm like, can you tell me what you see? He's like, it's military, all right. And I said, well, what kind? He's like, I have no idea. I've never seen those uniforms before. I know it's military, but I can't tell you who it is. So we have a lot of that kind of military here. And so there was this guy that lives here locally. He does not have a cell phone. His name is Jeremiah Horstman. Okay. And he was on this Beyond Skinwalker episode. I think it was the first one. And he found the tunnel system that I'm talking about. And he had found these, I'm not sure, shafts. There you go. These shafts, like these cement shafts that went down into the ground and led to something, but he didn't know what it was. And so phone is because he likes to go explore out there. And without his cell phone, you're not going to find him.
Right. Right.
Over with concrete. And so he took pictures of that, and he takes those pictures home of those sealed shafts, and he puts them in.
They're frozen.
Much in your better interest to delete these photos. Huh. And this is him talking on Beyond Skinwalker, telling you exactly what I'm telling you now. And this is him talking. So who is it? You know, I don't know. But there's been reports of, so there's this dirt road that goes out by Bradshaw Ranch. And then there's all these dirt roads that go off of it. And there's no sign that goes, oh, Bradshaw Ranch is here. You got to know which one of those dirt roads it is. And if you just keep saying, you'll eventually find it. But if you do find the right road, and I know which one it is, but if you take the right road, you're going to get pulled over before you get to the gate.
Interesting.
Just a given. You're going to get pulled over and harassed. And technically, you haven't done anything wrong until you get onto the property. But yeah. So, and there's a story out there, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'll share it with you. The one of Linda, he was known to just go out and not come back for a couple days. And so one night he doesn't come back, and his mom, but not freaked out about it. He still hasn't come back. Now she's starting to freak out, right? You know, he would have communicated with me somehow, my son. And so I don't know how many days removed it was, but then supposedly he was found in Cottonwood days later, and he had no idea how he even got there. And supposedly that's why the Bradshaws moved off the property. Interesting. One of the popular stories out there, and is it true or not, I don't know, but there's always a core of truth to something. Right.
True.
And then I've talked to some of the locals who said they've Indian, a Native American, do something like this, like kind of pull open the portal and stick his head into our dimension and go, oh, shucks, and then do this and pull right back out again. And then I've heard I've heard other people say they've been out there and they go through some kind of time shift or something where all of a sudden they see a Native American tribe out there.
See, that I can see, because time shifts happen all the time. I mean, you know, we know of people, like even in modern times, they run out, you know, they run outside or they run, you know, around the house, and next thing you know, they're still on their property, but nobody can find them. They don't see their friends. They don't see their family. They can hear them, and then they run counterclockwise, and next thing you know, like 2 hours have passed, but they're back in the house. And people are saying, where were you? We've been looking for you for 2 hours. And they're just like, I could hear you. I couldn't see you, just because of the way they were running around the house and then went back the other way counterclockwise. So I could believe in time shifts. Those things happen all the time. But it's fascinating to me, the story you told about being able to pull open, and that's crazy.
Yeah, so it was a number of years ago, and I was driving to Florida on Interstate 10 through Texas, and I ended up losing, I think, an hour and 40 minutes of time. And you drive I-10 through Texas, miles from west to east, east to west. It's a long, long drive, and I'm an anal bipolar time freak, and I count everything. I'm annoying, especially my girlfriends.
Don't put that out there. That's a lot of missed opportunities.
but my point is I time everything, I calculate everything. My mind works numbers. Like I went to bed at 11:47 last. I mean, I like that. Annoying little facts like that, or they just pop in my head. I don't even try to do it. So anyway, I'm counting the miles, which just makes your trip even longer. But for an hour and 40 minutes, I don't even know what happened. I have no idea what happened. I just know I lost an hour and 40 minutes. It's 2,000 miles to my mom's house from here anyway. So, if I can knock off an hour and 40 minutes, I'm fine with that, you know.
That's crazy.
And even on my odometer,
I still want to know where it went.
Even on my odometer, you know what I'm saying? I mean, when I got to Florida, there was like 100 miles that I couldn't account for. So it's like, what the heck happened? I don't know. I don't think it was anything negative. I felt fine. It just took me a while to figure it out. How could that have possibly happened? But it did.
I don't think I've ever looked at my odometer.
Ever.
I'm serious. Except for like insurance reasons. You know what I mean? Like I've never. I think it's a guy thing too.
Wow. Yeah.
What's interesting is in the time I've been on this show, I have a speaker that I put on my table, my computer table, and it has been knocked off of the table. I noticed it.
Why do you think that is?
Just weird stuff happens to me and around me, and it's not a negative thing. I think it's just their way of going, yeah, we're here, and I'm like, well, I know you're there. I love you. Come into the light, and I always bring them. If you're not of the light, then you're going to be repelled away. So come into the light, because that's where I dwell, and that's how.
Hear that keyboard.
Yeah, that's my consciousness, and that's it.
Sorry.
So the other night, I'm at a restaurant and I'm just eating chicken wings, and these two ladies sit next to me, and a musician from Los Angeles, and I start chatting them up, and then next thing you know, they're coming over to my house for the UFO tour, and I'm showing them the footage, some of the stuff that we showed tonight, which is what I like to do, and I do that until it gets dark enough to go do UFO, and so
I love show and tell.
Yeah, and then we go to the location to do UFO, and it's right near the end of the tour, and I was getting power-ups, which was great. I talked to them, as far-fetched as that sounds. I talked to them, and I asked them a couple things. I don't tell them what to do. I ask them, can you vanish, which simply means vanish, or can you change direction? And so there's this one craft, and it's very low, and it's flying right towards us, and I got a really negative feeling about it. And I said, if you're not of love and light, then go away now. And the craft went from pulsing to just this tiny little dot and went into the other direction.
Now, how do we know if that's from otherworldly or is that military?
Yeah.
Yeah, like how do you know?
Well, how about this? How did they know what I was even talking about if it was military? Did they have
You'd be surprised. We've had guests on that have been in the military. You would be surprised. Chips. You would be surprised.
So, do you remember Ben Rich? Yeah.
Yes.
You know who Ben Rich is?
Yeah.
He was the director of Lockheed Skunk Works. So on his deathbed, when he died, he said, we are capable of doing everything that they can do. And we've been doing it for a very long time.
Funny that, isn't it?
That's why I'm asking, how do we know which one of these are?
We don't.
Yeah.
So my built-in excuse for everything, it's on That's what I can't either. So we're just going to call it unidentified. I'm real big on, if I don't know, I'm going to tell you, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But can either one of us identify it?
I'm a natural born skeptic. Yeah.
No, but I love it. I love it because I turn skeptics around.
No, I believe in things. I'm a medium. I remote view. I believe in all of this stuff, but I question what is real and what is military. That's where I'm skeptical. Which one is which?
And I love what you just said. So what I tell people when they start saying military, I say, is the military experimenting, or not even experimenting? They have a program, right? With this esoteric, clandestine, potentially alien technology. And everybody always says yes. And then I say, are they trying to be secretive about it? That's where I get a pause. And most of the time people will say yes. And I'm like, well, if they're trying to be secretive about it, why are they flying over my house when they know I'm recording them?
Right.
Well, so here's a couple other answers.
That could be to create fear.
Maybe they don't even care anymore.
Yeah, but it could be the military trying to create fear.
Yeah, that's my whole point.
So you stop looking. Yeah.
They could be it could be the military labs, the My Labs, and the My Labs.
Sure.
Yes, that's what I mean.
For sure. My
Labs abduct.
Right, for sure.
Because they want to know what is happening to an abductee Well, how better than to abduct them themselves? And all you know, and you don't know, because they can just, clean slate your brain anyway, and you don't remember anything from minute 27 to minute 58. And it's amazing how they can just pull that out of your mind. You don't remember anything.
Exactly.
So, yes. So that being said, when I first moved to Sedona, I was getting abducted. I know I was. There was blood in my bed from my rectum, which is embarrassing to talk about, but it was happening. And some of the psychics in town were like, it's not the aliens. It's the MyLabs.
Yeah.
You're new here.
That's what we always hear, that it's military.
And that they are curious why UFOs follow you around. They're very curious about that. And so, when I first moved here, 4 Apaches flew over the house I was staying in. And this homeless guy who I was starting to talk to and become friends with, whatever, he's like, dude, what? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we don't typically see them buzz somebody's house that low. So there's something up with you. I don't know what it is. And I didn't want to tell him what I thought it was.
Right.
But that did happen. It kind of freaked me out, to be quite honest with you. I moved to Sedona. I got these Apache helicopters, with cannons on board, basically buzzing the house I was staying in. And I just told you the story. That was the free house. And I actually some photos back in the day of UFOs or whatever they were parked right over the house. And they were wanting me take photos of them with just a basic iPhone camera. I wasn't using any kind of digital technology or anything like that. And the first time it happened, I'm laying in bed and it's like 3 a.m. or something. And something tells me to get up and go outside. And I'm like, all right, well, whenever that happens, I listen. So it's either me or them being telepathic to me. I'm not sure. Maybe a combination of both, whatever. Just go outside, look up. Something tells me to look up. Bang, take a picture. And there's a craft, just a few hundred feet over the house. And I still have that picture to this day. And so was it the MyLabs? Was it the military? Was it, ET? I don't know. All I know is that something pulled me outside, something right over the house, and I took a picture of it.
That's frightening, because there's a lot of that. It is. It's frightening. I can't imagine it. And we've interviewed people who have talked about that, who are aware that it's happened to them. And I mean, they're breaking down like right in the middle of the show. It's not, I mean, I feel for anyone who goes through it or who has recollection of it. Why do you think
traumatic? That's for sure.
Right. We're going to do a quick station and sponsor ID, and then we're going to continue on, and we can maybe get some of your pictures looked at as well.
I love show and tell.
Yeah,
and that's what we're doing tonight. We're doing show and tell. You're listening to the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 107.7 FM, as well as on the Gulf Coast on 105.3 FM radio. We are live right now on the Roku channel and archived as well. Our special guest tonight is Reverend John Polk, and we are talking vortexes. Do they say vortices as well?
They do.
Vortices is grammatically correct, but I learned a long time ago, call it vortexes, because nobody knows what you're talking about.
It's easier. Vortexes. And power, and power spots. And we've also had show and tell. We've got videos, so you're not going to want to just listen to this. You're going to want to watch it. It's not going to be one of those things that you just want audio on, or do both. Because if you're just tuning in, don't worry. You can stream our archives on any platform you normally use. If you want to watch this particular episode, just go to our YouTube channel, Michelle the Outer Realm, and you'll be able to watch any of the episodes, but especially the show and tell ones. They're so much fun. I love show and tell. Don't you guys love show and tell? It used to just zen me out as a kid. Search United Public Radio and then the Outer Realm to find us on your streaming platforms. Remember to click like and subscribe. Add us to your playlist so you never miss an episode. And kindly share us with your friends and family. Hit that like button. We would like to give a huge thank you to Folgers Coffee for your continued support in sponsoring our show from day one. We are going on we're like on our 5th year, right, Michelle? We're on our 5th.
We
wow.
are.
Yes.
Well, we're very fortunate.
We love you guys. Our fabulous banner and promo media is courteous of Steve McGinnis, horror illustrator. He is a fantastic artist. And you can also contact him to create commission pieces as well. He can be found on Facebook. Thank you, Steve. Our intro and outro is courtesy of Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon. I love saying that. Also known as Justin Snicker, award-winning composer, vocalist, and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp and stream it on any platform. Find Dr. Snick on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you, Justin. And as I've said before, and I'm going to keep drilling this until I see you doing this, you can choose his music when you're creating your stories on Instagram and Facebook as well. So lastly, if you're watching us right now on our Facebook channel, or you're watching us on YouTube, whether it's live or archived, hit like, please, subscribe, and share. Thank you.
And don't forget to comment. We do love your comments and we do respond. So back to the show. Thank you, Amelia.
Thank you.
All right. So you've sent some pictures. So I'd like to put them up because you've sent them and I'd really like to share them if that works for you. Please. Okay. I'll pop them up and then you can discuss them and then we can sort of keep going from there. How about that?
Yeah, go ahead and put them up and I'll tell you about each one. Okay, so this was at V-Bar V Ranch, which used to be a cattle ranch. But that being said, there was this rock wall not far from the ranch, petroglyphs and pictographs. So petroglyphs and pictographs. So a petroglyph is something that etched into the rock, and a pictograph is where they use pigment, like
there
inside of pyramids,
animal blood, or they have some kind of head. You'll see they have some kind of headdress above their head, right? And that is so. Kachina means teacher from the stars, and it also had these mandalas where on the equinoxes and the solstices, the sun dagger through them. And so, were the Native Americans? Did they know astronomy that well to know exactly where to put the mandalas, where and when the equinoxes were? They didn't even have calendars back then, so it's like, how would they even know? So to me, the Kachinas made the rock wall. The petroglyphs and the pictographs are on it, and Arizona in general is loaded with these, really everywhere, not just on the entire state, actually the entire desert Southwest for that matter, also is loaded with petroglyphs and pictographs, which are so fascinating to me because they tell stories. So there's this one on this rock wall that I did not have a picture of, where, remember how Princess Leia would have her hair and over her ear to circles? So I did not know this, but you go out there and the forestry will conduct a tour and explain it to you, which is fascinating. And what that means is when a girl is like around 12, 13, 14, when she does her hair like that, that lets the tribe know that she's ready to find a mate.
Oh my gosh, I do my hair like that all the time.
Watch it.
I'm kidding.
The Native Americans thinking that you're looking for a mate now.
Wow. No, I've been glued to one for 31 years. I'm good.
But I found it fascinating.
You're not gonna find me promoting marriage.
All right, we'll get another one up. 1 second.
Yeah. Take those odds to Vegas.
This one is interesting. The medicine wheel.
This is fascinating.
Very pretty.
So I'm doing a tour, and it was this guy and his wife, and we're at the medicine wheel, and I was trained by a local Navajo how to actually tap into the medicine wheel and understand it. Right? It always opens from the east, and the concept is to create an intention. whatever your intention is, just so it's positive, doesn't really matter. Love, family, children, health, and then walk around the wheel 3 times. So the power of 3, just like Tesla. Tesla would walk around any structure 3 times before he would enter it. But if you look above in the upper left-hand corner, the light comes down and stops. Well, guess what? It's not light. The local psychics will tell you that they think it's Pleiadian. So if it was light, and this was a perfectly clear day, so it wasn't sunshine piercing through a cloud because there was no clouds. And if it was sunshine, which it's not, it would hit the ground. It wouldn't just stop, right?
Not only that, you wouldn't have it all around you. That's concentrated. Yeah.
And so, and then if you look at the edge of the medicine wheel where the shadows, you see the shadows off of the rocks. So I've been showing this photo for years.
Looks like an eagle.
Because I do a lot of presentations. Yes, you read my mind, Michelle. Somebody was like, "Oh wow, look at the eagle," and I'm like, "How did I not see that before?" So
that's
if
amazing.
you look at his head, and then you look at the shadow looks more like the head of an eagle, and he's a human. He's got a shape head like a human, right? And I'm like, wow, fascinating. So the trippy story also. So it was about a year later, and doing UFO, and not to be weird or nothing, but I'm peeing, and I hear somebody go, John.
A lot of TMI here.
It freaked me out. My name and called me right in midstream, and I'm like, oh my god! And it was this guy. And the day before that, I was at this place where the Wendangos supposedly live, and everybody that's tried to break dirt on that property has gone bankrupt. But I'm out there with him. I'm out there with him and his wife, and he's like, watch this. And he starts to blow like he's the creator god of the winds or something. And then he starts to wave his hand back and forth, and he's like, watch that tree. And he goes, and the tree started to wave back and forth. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never seen that. But I believe that this is some kind of spirit connected to this guy. That's my interpretation. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But whatever.
So who created the medicine wheel?
The Native Americans did it a long time ago, and who was the original creator of it? I have no idea. But to them, there's animal totems based on this also. So in front of him is the Waboose, the white buffalo, the gatekeeper to the north. The one closest to us in the bottom of the photo, that's the Waboon, the golden eagle, the keeper to the east. Behind him, which you can't see, is one of those bigger stones. That's the Shawnee, the coyote, the gatekeeper to the south. And then to his left on the opposite side is the Mudjekiwis, which is the grizzly bear, which is the gatekeeper to the west. So in order from northeast, southwest, air, water, fire. And then the creator stands in the center of all creation, surrounded by the 7 dancers, which is Mother Earth, Father Sun, Grandmother Moon, and then your animal totem. So the turtle is earth, the frog is water, the thunderbird is fire, and the butterfly is air. So I start to figure out what your animal totems are, and then I go to this book, which was authored by Sun Bear. It's a 270-page book. It's there, and he talks about the medicine wheel, and he shows you 50 different ways to tap into it. And so my former boss, Michelle, she gives me this book. Says, all right, medicine wheel is your tour. Make the tour. And I see this 270-page book. I'm like, she's like, just make a book out of it. You're not going to be able to remember all this stuff, but study this. It's going to be your tour. So do it. And I'm like, yes, ma'am, Michelle. Yes. So I took that as a high honor and took it upon myself to study how to do it. And to me, it helped me solve. So what I did not realize, and I'm a Reiki Master instructor, it should have entered my mind. But to heal the physical, we got to heal the mental, emotional, and spiritual. So if you can heal the mental, emotional, and spiritual, then can you heal without medicine? But you got to know what you're doing, and you got to do it all the time. You can't just do it once and expect it to last forever. And so, yes, this is cool as all get out. So this is where I used to do my UFO tours for Michelle. Right. And notice this, whatever this stops abruptly. It just stops. If it was light, which it was not, it would hit the ground. So it's not light, so it did not hit the ground. And bear in mind the picture with the light coming down over the guy's head, we didn't see that. We only saw it in the photograph. And the same thing with this. We did not see it. We only saw it in the photograph. And supposedly,
did he feel anything when this thing was shooting over?
Yeah, well, you know what? This whole area, it's almost like you can feel. It's a mystical, magical place, and supposedly the Wendang travel to come into this dimension.
Right.
Now, can't prove that, but that's
right.
Mythology behind it.
Yeah.
Of Sedona, it's pretty fascinating, but you can see how solid it is, and then it just abruptly stops. It just stops. If it was light, it would hit the ground. Light will continue until it hits a reflective surface or just dead end to some object, right?
Right.
How does it stop? I don't know. And that's not photos either.
Right. Right. Okay. We're going to go on to one more. 1 second. Okay. As you said, I love this one. So here we go. Bam. And there. Tell us about this one.
Oh, wow. That's a vortex tree, if ever you've seen one before. So the juniper tree specifically, they're like empaths of the tree kingdom out there, if you will. And will start to grow and braid in the twisting vortex energy. And so when we're out hiking or I'm doing tours, the way to tell that you're closer to a vortex, if you can't feel the energy, which I can, I'm sure both of you could too. If I brought you out here, you would easily feel it. But the way to tell is by looking at the tree. You look at the trees. And so when I first moved here, I had a buddy come in from California, and we're out hiking, and we pass a tree somewhat similar to this. And he's like, dude, did you feel that? And I'm like, and let's walk past it again. And it was brilliant what he said to do. And we did it, and we're like, wow, man, you could feel the energy coming off of the tree. You could totally feel it. And so when I do my vortex tours during the day, I'll have anywhere from 12 or more people. And as a psychic, or at least I think, and if you think you're psychic, you really need to test yourself all the time, right? To make sure that you're not full of yourself or full of baloney. But what I do is I pick at least one person who's going to be able to go up to the vortex tree and feel the energy coming off of it without touching it. That's the trick, is to feel it without touching it. I've only been wrong twice in years. And so it was yesterday. I'm trying to figure out who I'm going to pick. And I start, picking at people's brains. And the more spiritual somebody is, if they're spiritual and it's obvious, then that's an easy pick for me, right?
Right.
So I picked this one lady, and lo and behold, bam, she felt it. And so it's interesting. And what I say, get close to the tree, but do not touch it. And I'm like, I don't want to put anything in your mind, but it could be like you feel like either a push or a pull or a tingle, or maybe even changes in temperature. So, and I'm like, if you don't feel it with your right hand, try your left hand, and vice versa. And then before you even get started, rub your hands together. Gets the energy flowing, gets the kundalini moving around, and the blood flow in your hands also before you do it. And so she did, and I took her to one part of the tree with success, and she felt a little something. But then I take her to this other part of the tree, which is the second most successful spot, and she felt more there than she did in the first. I'm like, well, whatever. She felt something. Right. And then her friend jumped in. Her friend jumps in, and I'm like, women are better at it than men, and that is true. They are. Children are. Children are too. I rarely pick a man. I mean, rarely. Maybe once a month, maybe. And that would be just based on conversations.
I wonder if it's because we also have a very emotional energy. We just connect differently.
Yeah, yes, and I have to think that that's definitely a part of it. But yeah, I almost always pick a woman, and like I said, I've only been wrong twice in 6 years, and I put myself out there. I'm like, I'm either right or wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm gonna look stupid. So you're gonna make me look good today, and I know I'm right. So now I put everything out there, setting myself up to get ridiculed. But in the end, like I said, I've been wrong twice in 6 years, and the 2 times I was wrong, it was women, and they told me how sure they were, and I'm like, oh, they'll feel it, and they didn't. But that was only twice, and it happened in 1 month. Also, it's like, are you kidding me? I'm wrong twice in 1 month. I guess I was just
all women. Not all women are nurturers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too.
But
there's
anyway, such
like
thing as narcissistic mothers. You never know.
Yeah, like if I have 8 men that are like scientists, I won't even pick any of them.
No.
And if I don't think anybody will feel it, I won't bring it up because it just makes me look stupid.
Right. I
perfect example.
I would personally have them all try, because sometimes people surprise themselves. Sometimes they want it so much and they jive with the energy, and they just open up, like they're willing to do it. I think some people hold back as well. Like I used to do, tours and things and work with energy, and it's just, some people, it's like, no, I want to try, because they don't think that they can do it. They don't expect to encounter anything. And next thing, something happens, and they're just like, because their energy just jives, even though they may not realize it. Just a thought for me anyway. I would want to try, I'd totally be all about it.
I tell everybody, what I tell people is, I say, you don't have to, but the worst thing that can happen is nothing. What do you have to lose?
I agree with you.
And most people try it. And
I would think the curiosity, if you're.
Yeah. Oh, it bubbles over. Yeah. The cup runneth over of curiosity. Yep. Yeah. And especially the first, and it always happens. She's like, you can see the reaction on their face. And then I say, why don't you explain to all of our guests what you felt? And usually it's some kind of tingle, almost like little pinpricks in your hand. There was a couple of years ago, a lady said the way that she best could explain it was that it felt like the static coming off an old tube TV. That's the way it felt to her. And I'm like, ooh, that was about that on my tours. And that's often what people say.
Right.
This generation won't even understand static off a TV.
That's true.
Because it's not a tube, right? But when I remember being a kid and playing with it, that's why. So unless you're Gen X, you really will not get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sad when you think about it.
Yeah, it shows how young we really are anymore.
Right. Exactly.
So what's the strangest thing?
We're going backwards.
What's the strangest thing that's ever happened on one of your tours in one of these power spots, one of these areas?
I'm sorry, what was the strangest?
What's the strangest thing, or what's the most incredible, unusual? What stands out in your mind is just like some crazy experience that's happened on one of your tours in one of these power spots. Well, I almost want to say, did anybody disappear in a vortex? But that would be a bit extreme. But people react differently. Have you ever seen something really crazy on one of your tours at one of these locations that stands out?
Missing time.
Oh,
missing time. Like
interesting.
So like coming back to the office to drop my people off, and I'm like an hour late. It's like, where were you? What are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm on time. I'm like, oh, are you kidding? What happened? Yeah.
Right.
With multiple people also.
Right. That's interesting.
Remember it.
Well, and I'm just dropping them off. I'm just dropping them off at the store. And, the girl running the store, whoever it was at the time, was like, "Oh, I guess you had a really good tour because you're late." I guess they were really into it. And I'm like,
Right.
"Well, yeah, I mean, we were all into it." And she's like, "Well, you're like an hour late." Like, I am. And it was almost like my phone messed up also.
Right.
Because I'm an anal stickler about time, and these tours, you have to time everything out.
Yes.
You have to time everything out so that you're at certain locations at certain times. And we staggered the tour guides so that we're not all at the same place at the same time. And that's done on purpose. So we have to be cognizant of what time it is. And she was just like, "I just thought y'all were just into it, and just hanging out for longer than normal." And I'm like, I didn't even know it. I didn't even realize it,
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
So
I love that though, because your tours could be anything, UFO could be, power spot related. There's just so much incredible energy and so many amazing stories that come out of Sedona. So we're slowly inching to the top of the hours. This is the part where you tell us all what you have coming up. Tell us about your upcoming season, what people can expect, where to find you, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to put up this incredible banner again because I too like the banner. 1 second. 1 minute. There it is. Nope, right there it is. There.
So I was telling you the typo, and in the time we've been on the show, they fixed it, and now it's going to print. So it's a magazine called Discover Sedona. And the producer of it is a good friend of mine. His name is Gary Cosmos Mraz, like Jason.
I love
Mraz.
it. It's a great handle.
but Cosmos with a K, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I've known him for years, and I do tours with him. He gets these high-end clients, and I'm like, you can charge him whatever you want, just so I make what I want to make. You don't even have to tell me what you're charging them.
Right.
And we do that. We've had a great friendship, business relationship for years. But this ad is going to be in Discover Sedona magazine, which I'm assuming should be coming out like in the next week at the most.
Right.
But you can see how it reads, John Polk UFO Tours. And I was telling you, the UFO, when they first put the first UFO up there, I wasn't feeling it. I wanted something to just pop and jump out of the screen, jump off the page at you. And so we went back and forth, and they finally came up with that. And I'm like, that's it. Deal. That's it.
Right on.
I am a master tour guide. I create tours for other companies also. I teach people how to do my tours. And I'm not going to use a specific name, but one of my family members was like, you shouldn't be giving up all your trade secrets. And I'm like, this information that has been bestowed to me, imparted to me, is not for me to hoard and be selfish. It's for me to share. It is. It's too important, and it's too healing to keep it to myself. But as I'm a master tour guide, I got trained by Navajos years ago also. Using the military grade goggles. I do Vortex tours, ghost tours where Sedona is actually buried, wheel tours, and stargazing tours. And then also I'll talk to people and pick at their brain if they're not sure what they want to do. Do you want it to be more spiritual? Do you want it to be more scientific? Do you want it to, if you can't get around too well, do you want to just drive around? I just pick at people's brains and try and articulate a tour that will represent what they want to get out of it. Right. And I'm all about spirituality. And if they're not, that history in about it. And so, my website, johnpolktours.com. I'm one of very few people that will give out their phone number. 407-924-8857, which is a Florida number, so don't let that throw you off. And I'm the kind of guy that if I see a number I don't recognize, I pick up the phone immediately if I can, because I get calls from all over the country and all around the world all the time.
Right. I think it's great.
Come down.
I think it's great. In fact, you are back on the show with us on May the 1st to talk about ghosts and all the paranormal anomalies and experiences in Sedona as well.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys who've been waiting for that information, it's coming. It's coming. There's just so much information to share. So we had to divide it up into 3, which is awesome. So johnpolktours.com. It is in the show description. It has been going across the scrolling banner here throughout the entire show. And we're really pleased that you came and joined us again. We had so much fun the first time. And I'm glad that you could come back with us another time. And I'm looking forward to May the 1st as well.
Me too. I've got a bunch of ghost foot.
Yeah.
Yay. Ghosts.
And Frozen. Well, but at least
at the end.
Yeah, at least it's the end of the show, and I think we're down. So, okay. Well, I'm hoping you can hear me. I will be in touch. I will email you links and so on.
Great experience.
Completely frozen. There we go. I'm back. Okay. Thank God it's happening at the very end of the show. So,
I was just giving you all that.
No, yeah, that's crazy energy. Thank you for joining us. I will send you an email. I will make sure you have links and so on.
Hey, Amelia and Michelle, brilliant job interviewing me. The audience participation, love the show. Love what you're putting out there, and thank you. And what an honor for me to be on your show once again.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch. Thank you very much, John. Have a good evening. And God. Well, that was informative. I have to say, I can't get past this. This is crazy. Can you imagine you go to like some kind of a crazy anomaly place and you just start, what can you imagine what you could see? I'd be so into that. I'd be into that. That's crazy stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
But big thank you to John Polk for joining us and talking about vortexes and power spots. And there's so much information. Sometimes it does get technical. Sometimes there's great stories to share. We had fun with him the first time. Super interesting information this time around. Looking forward to the paranormal part of everything. That'll be interesting also. But before we get into the total technical of signing off the show, I want to announce, of course, that we are sponsoring 2 events right now here at the Outer Realm. We are sponsors for Contact and Disclosure Symposium 2024 in Toronto, Ontario. So you're going to hear us pumping this, and banners are going to start playing. It's going to be taking place, I'm just trying to see, April 20th, 2024 at the Off-World Bar. I love it, Off-World. In the event time, it's a 1-day only, 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. And if you guys remember Leslie Mitchell Clark, who has been on our show, Wes Roberts, who's been on the show a few times, is also going to be one of the organizers, along with Gag Sumner, Mike Patterson. So far, guest speakers, more will be announced, but they've got Colonel Randy Kramer, USMCSS. So we've got military there, Air Force. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to seeing who else is going to be speaking. So look out for them, please. And then we also have, again, year number 2, Halifax Paranormal Symposium. And this is going to be taking place. Let me get the dates, because again, this is all pretty fresh for me.
Good for him.
Saturday, October 12th, 2024 at the Halifax Tower Hotel Conference Center from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. You can go to the website. All of this stuff is going to be on there. You guys can go to michelledesrochers.com. Right now it's there because we have a page, The Outer Realm. So look at theouterrealmradio.com. I keep forgetting we have that. So theouterrealmradio.com.
I forget too, though.
I know. I always, because I don't really, do a whole lot with it. But if you go there and just look under news and information, and they're freshly posted. So you guys could check it out, and the links are all there. But you're going to start seeing us talk about that a little bit more. And with respects, of course, to the Contact and Disclosure Symposium, the United Public Radio Network is also a sponsor of that. So you're going to just start seeing more of it. It's brand new for them, and it's really important to get all this disclosure stuff out. So we're really proud to be a part of it. So now we get into the technical stuff. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. Big thank you to Reverend John Polk for talking about Vortexes and Power Spots. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring the show this evening, along with Justice Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, and Steve McGinnis. We've had a really interesting comment in there. I've dealt with that. But thank you to everybody in the chat room. As always, you make it so much more fun. Our guests love it, and we love it as well. Tomorrow night, we welcome back Constance Victoria Briggs, and she's going to be discussing her new book, The Moon's Galactic History, a look at the moon's extraterrestrial past and its connection to Earth. Sounds like fun to me. Looking forward to it. Until then, guys, have a terrific night, and we shall see you tomorrow evening. Thank you, and good night.